8-inch production. They need to check it. Okay. No, please. Sounds like you're into the work. Maybe I should have said it. Hey, how are you? Think about it. I don't want to over. I don't want to not. I get it. Dave,
Yep, you missed it.
oh, yes.
It would have been your lucky day, but
Said he gave me the call, gave me the
I thought you meant
$1,000.
That's the third.
You just look to spend money, give money away.
there was a gal yesterday in the show they ran on Wheel of Fortune. One million dollars. She had the money from Wheel and she got the envelope from the other wheel. So she walked away with like $1,025,000. Got 25 playing the game. Got the $1 million.
She didn't walk away with that. Uncle Sam got him quite a bit.
Right.
I met my meeting with the.
You know, she ends up with 500,000.
Yeah.
Still,
Still better than what I did yesterday. So.
yeah, but you can't quit your job on that.
No, unfortunately anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, cause you see that, you wonder, does anybody ever win
Win what?
the $1 million on the Wheel of Fortune?
Did someone?
Yes,
Yeah.
the show they ran last night, someone won, lady won. So she, you know, she had the marker from the big wheel and she had her envelope from the extra game had the $1 million. And she solved the puzzle and had the $1 million. I said.
So she'll get about 600,000.
More than she walked in with. Exactly.
Well, she had plus the game playing, she had like 25 or 27,000. So this was just a nice buck up, but it's, you know, you see it, hey, $1 million, and nobody ever wins it. Well, the stars were crossed.
Nice.
We got everybody here.
No, Joe?
Joe is in Vegas.
Available. Jonathan's here.
Jonathan's virtual.
He's online.
There's no one in the audience.
Hello.
So everything call to order, roll call, moment of silence, pledge, then we go to public hearing. Ordinance 1992 and 1993.
So this, the first part is the public hearing. This is for the GO bond. You might recall earlier in the summer, council approved an engagement letter with Baker Tilly for them to go through in light of SCA 1 and the changes that they had made that impact debt and how we would go about getting future tax levy to pay down debt payments. They worked to figure out, did some analysis to figure out what's the best way to approach the GO and the park bonds. So this year we're going to do, we're separating them. There'll be a GO bond and a park bond. So at this meeting, you're going to be asked to hold a public hearing on the GO bond only. After the public hearing, later in the meeting, you'll be asked to pass the ordinance authorizing the bonds. You're going to be asked to do that on first read, which is historically how we have handled that. That would require unanimous consent in order to waive those readings and then have your vote to adopt the ordinance. On the memo, you can see the list of things that staff has put together that they want to purchase. It's nothing, police standard things that they're asking for each year where they keep their rifles, cameras, license plate readers, fiber update, all those things that they're just trying to keep up with year over year. They have that in there. Public Works has $2 million in road resurfacing, 200,000 for sidewalk replacement. they're looking to replace equipment, put in a pole barn. And the rest is the standard replacement of vehicles that they look to do each year. The other item that's on there is landfill improvements. You might recall the last meeting, you were asked to approve another almost $180,000 worth of work.
Okay.
And this is a continuation of what we expect each time they do one more piece. They have to give it some time, see how does that impact the well field, how does it play out? And we do still anticipate that there will be more work that needs to be done. So the first item on the agenda for this is just the public hearing on the additional appropriations. So you'll open the public hearing, comment, close the public hearing, and then you'll move on to the next item on the agenda to come back to this list.
Okay. Do we have any questions about this? Okay, then we're gonna go to the proclamation amongst the fire department 100-year.
Is that ready to go? Who's writing it?
Chief is, thought we'd have it this afternoon. We have time. Get it close to the chief as he has it.
Okay.
But we're going ahead with it. Okay.
Okay, great.
The Historical Society's been asking me, it's for sure. They're-
Because don't they have a historical society event this Saturday and then next week is their open house, so.
The 11th is the fire department's open house, so this is right before it.
Yeah, we don't want to do it after, I guess.
No,
So it'd be nice, to get it done beforehand.
yeah. And then we have the consent agenda, then,
The consent agenda.
yeah, go ahead.
There's an invoice we've been paying for each of the last, once a month, the Barnes and Thornburg invoice. And I'm wondering if that's something that we should be looking at. Can we get out of that? Is it a month-to-month contract that we have with them? Is it a yearly contract? What's our obligation under that agreement? Because I just don't think we're getting a lot out of Barnes and Thornburg, especially with AIM stepping up as much as they have in the past couple years.
There's actually two invoices. One is for federal level lobbying efforts and one is for state level. And I believe that those end in October. And we have to tell them, if council doesn't want to continue with that, then they need to be informed because I believe those run from November to the end of October.
Do we get a good ROI out of this, or is it just a membership kind of thing?
I often find it interesting that we can get on the listserv, the clerk's listserv, the same summary of bills that they're sending to us separately. It's being put out there for everyone. I don't know what they are, and I'm not involved enough to know, but I don't know what specifically they're working on, especially at the federal level, that is for the town.
Again, I don't want to break the contract, but if we can review it and if there's a out coming up, or if we have to authorize a new one, can we look at the definites of what the contract is? So then if
So
it
the
is
way-
November 1, we can just stop
Well, the
doing it
way
or
it's
give them.
written, it will, in essence, it will just continue
Okay.
unless we take a step that says,
If we need to do something formally, I'm more than happy to do that. But I want to know what, if we have to make a formal action to do something, I'd like to consider that at this meeting or the next meeting. But if it's something that we, can do at the next meeting and just let
Let's
us
look
know.
into it, that's the 20th meeting.
Chuck, can I jump in here? Chuck, this is consistent with something that you and I discussed previously, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I would agree with Councilman Gardner. I think this is something we should reconsider. We got to find ways to save money. And if I'm hearing that there's a redundancy in the services, that seems like it's fit for a review.
I'm just gonna comment. Is it not tiered, two-tiered? One when the session's in and one when the session's out?
we pay a different rate.
That is
Correct.
That is correct. The other thing is there any advantage to be having them on retainer so that when we have a need, that we can get them?
I think they would be more than happy, if we had a need, they'd be more than happy to re-engage with us and lobby on our behalf. If
Right.
we But right now, we've got nothing that we're lobbying for that isn't bigger picture, that isn't already being done by the Ames. I was at a meeting earlier this week, Taft is out there lobbying for changes for SEA one, so there are others out there, and we get emails from Indiana Chamber of Commerce, we get it from the forum, I think the forum, we get it through AIM. They're very detailed and wonderful recaps on what's happening in the session. And it's not nearly as all encompassing as what we're getting from Barnes. So I agree, there is some things that they do for us. Yes, we needed them when we were doing some big projects in town, and we don't have those big projects anymore.
And we
So-
still want to work with them
Absolutely.
if there's opportunities to work with them, then we
Right.
need them,
Right.
and we have, and just the retainer.
Right,
industry.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's some other, yeah.
Yeah.
mostly-
Let's bring this up
Things.
So,
for the agenda before the October 20th meeting.
or whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have anything, Mr. Westland, to add?
I would just ask, like, is it a question of the scope of the fee? Or, so is there some discussion that needs to be had about the amount? And then my second question would be, do we get a better rate from them on the bond work because of the lobbying contract? I think the answer to that question is yes. I think they give us a better rate than because I see the rates that they charge on general bond work, and Munster's is super competitive. I would say low, and I would imagine the reason for that is because of the other contract. So I don't think it hurts to have an analysis and the global conversation about it, but I think you gotta bear all that in mind when you're, and maybe it's a question of a reduction, not an elimination, but, you'd have to analyze it, figure out what's worth it.
Yeah, but I look at it as what are we paying them in fees monthly, and then with the bond, does that all equal out? You know,
The bond
Yeah.
comes directly from the bond. The lobbying comes from operating funds.
okay, right, the cost for them to be a bond counsel comes out of the bond. Correct. Okay, so it doesn't affect the general fund.
Correct.
Other than you get less in bond, because you paid the lawyer.
Okay.
But I think, but if we look at the whole
Right.
thing, where do we come out overall?
Understand.
Mhm.
Okay, if we can look at it, that's just, so it does get too far down the chain.
Okay.
Thank you.
And ultimately, the residents pay for the bond and have paid for the lawyer. Yes. Let's have discussion. Let's see what we can do.
Okay, let's go to old business, ordinance 1991. Great year I got married.
This is the second reading on the 2026 budget and tax levies. There's no changes made to the ordinance from what you had on first read. So you'll be asked to pass this, and each of you will be asked to sign. Everyone has to sign that ordinance.
Do we have any questions on ordinance 1991, second reading? Okay, new business, ordinance 1992, the go bond issue.
This is, you will have held your public hearing on the GO bond. This is the actual where you'll be asked to suspend the rules, waive the readings, and then adopt the ordinance authorizing the issuance of those bonds.
Any questions? Okay, we'll go with ordinance 1993.
This is approving the additional appropriations for the GO bond. Again, being asked to waive the rules, adopt on first reading.
Ordinance 1994, additional appropriations.
This is the standard type of additional appropriations that we've come to you before. This will be the fifth one this year. We have 4 different funds that we're looking to get authority to spend from. The first is the the local income tax economic development fund. This is going to be used to cover engineering costs for the pedestrian bridge project and the Main Street projects. It's still within the authorized amounts that council has approved for those. This is just, we need permission to spend for those.
And Main Street, is this additional engineering one.
It's the engineering work that's being done, right? When the budget was put together for 2025, the project was a little bit stalled and we weren't sure where things were going. And now, then this year, they've been more full steam ahead on it. And so they've gotten further into that contract, which is gonna need more appropriations.
Do we have a time frame of when Main Street is gonna be bid out?
Last I understood, that wasn't until 2027.
Design hasn't been approved yet. so
Yeah, it's not gonna be.
So
bid out.
It's still multi-year. Okay, thank you.
The next fund is cumulative capital improvement. That's for $60,000. There's a new multi-factor authenticating system that we're deploying. It's called Duo, and this is the licensing for that. Water depreciation fund is needing $122,000. This is for the purchase of a new camera truck, which you'll hear about later in the meeting. And then the consumer water deposit fund. This is customers come in and out of the utility throughout the year. This is to refund their deposits that they make.
Is that a normal thing, or
Yes.
we haven't had more refunds than normal, and just a kind of an ongoing
This
thing?
is an ongoing thing. It's just people move in, move out, and.
Okay.
And for all of these, the cash is on hand, is available to use for all of these. So you'll be asked to have first reading at this meeting and to have the public hearing and adoption at the October 20th.
Any questions?
I'd like to back up to Main Street. If I was of the understanding that there are not grants currently being given for that project,
For Main Street,
yes.
this is money that's already been approved through NERC. It was approved a few years back. They've been sending the payment every time we ask to be reimbursed, so to my
Okay.
knowledge, we're good.
Cause I know, you know, we had that meeting, there was some discussion, maybe I came away with the wrong interpretation.
I think I follow where you're coming from now. I think the issue at that time was there was talk about substantially changing what that project was.
Yes.
And if it had been, and that was where the concern was, if it had been changed in the way that was being considered, that was where there was gonna be the issue with funding. But right now, we do have our funding at 80-20 split for the design work.
So at 2 lanes, we've got funding, at 3 lanes or 4 lanes.
It was,
No.
that's probably not gonna happen.
Just, you know, on a general.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, ordinance 1995, the TIF fund for Maple Leaf Crossing.
So I think everyone's familiar with our TIF fund that we have. And we have what we think of as the TIF area. And then we have Maple Leaf Crossing, which is carved out from from the rest of the TIF area. When we receive those dollars from the county, we see one amount that's the main TIF area and the other one that's Maple Leaf.
Okay.
State Board of Accounts is telling us we have to have a separate fund for each of those separate areas. So we have our main TIF fund that we think of, the one with the very large balance, and then we have Maple Leaf Crossing. So this is asking you to authorize us to create a fund where we will put that portion that is Maple Leaf Crossing only, all the ins and outs that happen with it. It's
Just
pretty much
another-
housekeeping. It's another fund that has to be created, and you're being asked to authorize the transfer of the balance of the dollars that were generated from Maple Leaf into the new fund that's being created.
With Maple Leaf, were there timelines in that TIF agreement that we have with them, that they were gonna have certain buildings built by certain times and everything else that way? Are in that TIF agreement?
As I recall, there were, and I know that there were some change, most of the amendments to that agreement were for time purposes because of with COVID and we couldn't get
COVID happened.
materials, and so we had to.
But much like what's my frustration with Centennial Village, you know, is Maple Leaf getting to the point where we need to look at some timelines and say, you know, things were, you know, you promised us certain things, and again, I don't recall what the agreements were, but is that something we should be looking at also at this time?
I think Jay's rocking and rolling. He's doing more than what, Kimball is doing
Well-
at Centennial.
Yeah,
That's still
I agree with that. I mean, that's a very high,
I
low
think-
bar, I think, but that's.
And I'm not sure, but I would say the Centennial project is much larger in scope
And
of
again,
dollars, but we should be looking at both of them.
I just think maybe, if this is coming up, we should at least look at it. I do kind of agree that there is a lot more action at Maple Leaf than across the street, but something to look at with these agreements that start 6 years ago, and we kind of tend to forget.
I
or,
think the
you know.
front's already rented out and most of the second, he's working on the third.
To the point, though, you negotiate and it takes months normally to do a development agreement, right? And then we kind of, once the development agreement is done, I'm not sure what our protocol is for making sure deadlines are adhered to, or at least if they're not adhered to, an amendment is drafted that then sets a new deadline, right? Like, you know, something to kind of keep tabs on what's going on. I mean, my sense is that Centennial is far outside the bounds of that development agreement. I haven't honestly looked at Maple Leaf in a while, but you know, easier for me to like just eyeball the one and say, yeah, there's no way they're in compliance, right? So I don't think it's a bad idea though to put some sort of system or protocol in place where you make sure they're hitting, that's the reason there are benchmarks, right? Which is, and it's also why with Maple Leaf, it's less of a burden on the town, because if he doesn't create assessed value, then the TIF doesn't generate and he doesn't pay himself back. Centennial was given all the money up front. So it is a little bit of an apples and oranges situation where one is probably more important to the town to make sure that it hits the benchmarks, because for us to get paid back the money we fronted, they gotta do it, right? Like, so, but the point is a good point. You need to have some system in place where you make sure the deadlines are at least, if not completely adhered to, something comes.
And I just pulled up the memo from the last amendment, which was done in 2021. And the office building shell was to be done in 2023, the hotel in 2023, the other office buildings by June of 2025, the container space by 2024, the restaurant on lot 3 by April of 2025. So according to that, it should be done. All of those things should be complete by now.
That's Maple Leaf.
And I have no idea where things actually are.
And again, it's not something of urgent importance to do it right now, but I think it is something when we start looking at development and economic development director and things like that coming in. This is, I think, something that we really gotta, and again, if there's an emergency, it's much more across the street that I'm much more concerned with than this property, but it was just a question that came to my mind when we started talking about this.
And that's gonna be a good thing for the economic developer too. Yes.
So we've talked about Centennial Village before, not being moved along and not hitting the benchmarks. Who takes action? Like, what are the next steps to push him along?
So you would issue under the development agreement, not having it in front of me, you would issue a notice of violation or breach or default, however you want to define it. I believe my recollection, don't quote this, is that development agreement has a cure provision for a period of days, like 30-ish or something like that. There's no way, if he's outside the realm of you can't build a building in 30 days, right? Like, so the idea with the letter would be to generate a conversation where you could amend a development agreement that would impose realistic timelines. If he thumbed his nose at the letter or invitation to have that discussion, then you would be faced with, you know, do I file a lawsuit or like, do I go to the next step or what do I do, right? Like, so, but the first step would be a letter to kind of invite that discussion about, to say, hey, look at the way we read this, you're out of compliance. number one, and number two, how are you gonna cure it? And three, you know, why don't you come in here and talk to the folks that are here? Cause like, you don't want, nobody wants to sue anybody. We want compliance. You want the buildings, right? Like, that's what you want. So at the end of the day, a letter and a discussion is probably the first place to start.
I would in order for that, because I already heard that he stumped his nose at us.
I guess I would make the suggestion that Jim, George is the president of the council, and Dave sit down and kind of work through our options with this thing and can move forward with this. Again, I just think that this is important,
It is,
Very important.
that's our money.
so.
We've talked about it and we've seen it's stalled, so that'd be great.
Okay.
And
I
then,
tried to authorize Dave, but I don't have.
yeah, and I don't think we had to have a big agenda review meeting. You three sit down and maybe you can come back and give us the draft of the letter or something like that, but.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, and again, if the council has to make formal action, but I don't think the letter has to have a formal action of the council. I wouldn't think.
Let's move on to the health insurance premium rates.
So this is the annual review and approval of the health insurance rates.
This is going into the same, basic percentage is what we were talking about in the budget, for
Right.
2026, right?
3%.
The 3% increase.
Three, yeah, for medical and then 7 for dental and no increase for vision. Last year's medical increase was 2%.
Any questions? Approval of EA subscription agreement.
So this is a licensing agreement that we have to approve for the Microsoft 365 suite of applications that we use. The quote was obtained from Schooltown through our computer provider Dell. So this is a 3-year agreement with an annual cost of just under $64,000. So this provides the licensing for all of our employees, for the administrative staff at the Schooltown to allow us to use the software applications that I have listed in the memo. And Jerry, you know, typical Microsoft software applications. It includes security features as well. So this needs to be approved for the coming year.
Is this, 64,000 per year or 64,000 all per years? Per year, wow.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
We're in the
it's-
wrong business.
Right. You gotta find out why you could do it, right? You need the software and.
Wait till AI is there.
Yeah,
You know, go ahead.
and I was just gonna say, the Schooltown did try to get us on the Schooltown license, and that would because they get, as a school, they get a significantly lower rate as government. We do not get a lower rate at all, and so they did their best to try to get us the best pricing that we could, and
I've had a little bit of dealings with the IT people setting up the sustainability group and everything else. I'm very impressed with the school of town of Munster, the people that are working with us and I'm very impressed with them and what they're doing for the town. So again, my only comment would be there, it seems like it's working out really well.
It is.
Okay, next
I don't
is
understand
the
what
centennial tax abatement.
So this is working with Sergio and Dave, trying to, be certain that we are abating the owner occupied and not the rentals. We've clearly identified 8 that are not on the list, or 5 that are not on the list. There are 8 that are questionable, so we would like Mr. Kimmel to sign off and just say, yes, they really are owner occupied. Sergio and his team did a really good job trying to match all this up, but these 8 are being sent to, they're being sent to trusts, they're being sent out of town, out of state. So we don't think it would be an issue for Mr. Kimmel. So this is something we put on here annually, and this should normally come through in March or April, so. We've been going, there's been a lot of back and forth on this, and we'll put this to bed on October 6th.
Sir, thank you for your hard work on this. Any other questions?
Thank you.
No, it was a lot of the staff, pulled it together and we reviewed it as a team and felt confident to present this over to our treasurer
Okay,
for you all to
Thank you.
consider.
any other questions on this? Okay, let's move up to precision control systems.
This is a, request for a, or this is a recommendation for the Board of Zoning Appeals to, consider their unfavorable recommendation to deny a building systems use. It is a HVAC contractor's office, that typically is identified within the light industrial zone classification. They are looking to locate an AC for a zone, which is for the former Harley building, auto shop or dealership there. They are interested in the site because of the warehouse so that they can store their equipment, and or materials, at this facility and then, eventually expand or grow their business with additional, both salespeople and engineers. And so because this use is not permitted use, it has to go through the process of being described.
Okay, any questions on this one?
I sent an email to about a week ago. What makes this thing really unique, in my mind, is the warehouse that's already there, the metal looking part of the building, is there, and that's what they're gonna be using a little bit of this out. Again, I'm not concerned about the additional traffic over there, because there's a gas station right next door that has, you know, gas truck that's just as big as any kind of semi coming in, dropping off there. I read through some of the, you know, there was concern about additional traffic. This is Calumet Avenue. You know, this is a major thoroughfare in town. They're not asking for any more curb cuts. They're already sharing the curb next to it. It's a business that is it's not a large manufacturing business, it's not a warehousing type business. You know, the amount of truck traffic that's gonna come in through here is it one truck a day? You know, I think it said 5 to 6, you know, truck deliveries. Car parking, I went over to Precision Controls over in Griffith. They'll have 15 to 20 cars parked in there for their employees, you know, office. But if we have a dental or if a medical office there, you're gonna have more cars parked there throughout the day. And actually the medical office, you're gonna have more cars coming in and out. And quite frankly, that would be okay with me. I think Calumet Avenue can handle more car traffic. The vans, yeah, there's a look to that maybe is a little bit more industrial. But again, it's still in the course of doing business, and they're not gonna be keeping cars parked there overnight, it doesn't seem like. Or if there is, there's either the warehousing in the back, or they could put some cars in the back. I guess all this is being said, I'm not so sure that unfavorable recommendation makes sense in this situation. I think Precision Controls, it's a good business. It's not out there making, you know, it's not power tools in the middle of the night making, you know, we're not making cars here. They're not making HVAC systems. They're actually, you know, maybe putting some controls together, and taking out. The mixed, the factory quote unquote appearance of the site is already there. That's been there since 2002. This, you know, the corrugated.
And it was loud.
Yeah, and again, I'm thinking, and would I like to see additional restrictions put on deliveries? I don't think I want to see deliveries, if we can work with Precision Control, say deliveries have to be between 7 o'clock and 2 o'clock. You know, keep it before, we don't want a 4 o'clock delivery that's backing up traffic even more. It is restrictions on noise, that they can't be operating tools outside before 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, again, part of this is I would want to talk to them and see if these are feasible.
Unfortunately, Chuck, you can't do that. So, and I was gonna wait till George got back to kind of go through procedurally where you're at.
Okay,
That would be kind of taking additional evidence, so, which is really not where you're at in the process. So, give George a second, because I wind up repeating it all again.
No, that's fine.
But you basically, you gotta understand kind of the statutory framework of a use variance. And he's back, so now I'm gonna get into this, right?
okay,
So the statutory process for a use variance is that the public hearing and all the evidence is held at the BZA. That took place on August 12th of this year.
Mhm.
The petitioner presented evidence and there was a remonstrance, a formal remonstrance that was put into the record. From that, the BZA has three choices. They can either send a favorable recommendation, an unfavorable recommendation, or just punt the thing entirely and say we got no recommendation at all. In this instance, they chose to send you an unfavorable recommendation. You, as the oversight under the statute, have the ability to review the record of the proceeding below where the evidence was presented
okay,
and either, number one, accept their recommendation, and in this case, unfavorable, which would deny the use variance, right? That's option one.
okay,
Option two is you could reject their recommendation, which would be to grant the use variance. And number three, you could reject the recommendation and grant the use variance with conditions.
okay,
All right, so what you can't do is reopen a public hearing, because statutorily, the public hearing was at the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's where the petitioner is charged with its obligation to persuade the Board of Zoning Appeals, who, makes their recommendation that they've met the 5 statutory criteria for a use variance. In this instance, there were 3 members of the Board of Zoning Appeals there. And it takes 3 members to have any action. All 3 voted to send the unfavorable recommendation. You have in your packet that Sergio is required to put together and did put together in this instance, his staff reports from both the preliminary hearing and the public hearing. You have the findings of fact that were adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I would tell you, those are really detailed in terms of what you would typically see, and they were probably detailed because there was a remonstrance and a petitioner, which you don't normally have. You have, and in Sergio's staff reports, you have recommendations that he is making. And in fact, if you look at the staff report, which is part of the record, page 6 of the August 12th, or the report that went to them on August 12th, Sergio indicates that they may consider the following motion to send a favorable recommendation, a use variance request for a building systems, blah, 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 zone, or with the following conditions. No outside open covered storage of business equipment, materials, or supplies. All company vehicles must be stored from in the rear of the property and comply with manufacturing zone landscape and screen buffering. So your zoning administrator has given in his staff report, which is part of the evidence you can consider, a roadmap of the type of conditions that would be appropriate to impose if you are inclined to grant the use variance. What you are not allowed to do is take further evidence, because look at it like so you have an ordinance that says they can't do this. They appeal that to the Board of Zoning Appeals to get a recommendation. The Board of Zoning Appeals is analogous to like a trial court. And a trial court judge says, nope, unfavorable recommendation. Well, they have the right then, and it statutorily comes to you to look at the record that the BZA looked at and reach your own conclusion about whether a use variance should be granted.
okay. But sorry, I don't want to put my back to you, but that's.
No, you're
what
fine.
happens.
I had to spread this stuff out anyway, to be able to talk about it, so.
So Sergio, and first of all, do other counselors think that this is even worth talking about? Because if other counselors are saying we should disapprove the unfavorable recommendation, I don't need to keep on going, but my feeling is that I think this could be a good thing for Munster. And I don't see that this is being this business coming in with this use isn't detrimental to further development that's gonna happen on Calumet Avenue or in that area. So I guess I would ask that first. If other counselors feel strongly about this, I'll just be quiet and move on, and it could be 4-1 at the council meeting, and I'm fine with that.
Chuck, can I weigh in here? I've been looking at the packet. Who was how many remonstrators were there and who were they, please?
There was one written remonstrance and it's noted in the minutes. And then it's, if you look at the minutes, Jonathan, of August 12th, 2025, there's a written remonstrance that, it's noted on page 5.
Right.
And then.
Dave, hang on for a second. I'm in Trello and I see 4 documents. Which document are you referring to, please?
The minutes of the August 12th, 2025 meeting.
You may have
Which-
to show,
There's more, you gotta unhide the hidden documents. There are 4 hidden documents from the initial view.
Okay, I see. Let me see
But-
this.
So I mean, it's page 5. It says, Member Raffin said a formal objection letter was received from the Cobblestone Property Owners Association. He read the letter in its entirety. The letter and its source are included in the document as Exhibit A. Member Raffin asked if anyone else wanted to speak. When there were no comments, the public hearing was closed. So the answer to your question is there's one remonstrance from, well, Bob Steffen talked before that. And then the written remonstrance was put in the record, and that's Exhibit A, a letter from the Cobblestones POA to the members of the Board of Zoning. It's attached. It's at the back end.
But our veteran guy, I'm trying to think of his name, he got on at the council meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told
Frank
it.
Darling.
Right
Darling.
there you go.
But he
He didn't present
he
other
didn't present at
evidence.
the BZA though.
No.
His comments were just nice, but they didn't mean
Yeah,
anything.
this is BZA.
Right.
The way I viewed it was, he stood up and said, I disagree with what the BZA did. This is a good company. There's no additional evidence being offered. That's his opinion about that he wants that building put to use, and I don't necessarily disagree with that at all, but it's, you don't want to take evidence. So like, you don't want the petitioner getting up and going, well, I'm adding to what I said before.
So what you're saying is we can't add other evidence, but the evidence that you're saying is putting further restrictions on the property.
That's not evidence. You could yourselves, and I think there is plenty of information in the findings of fact.
Right.
As well as Sergio's report that gives you a roadmap for the type of conditions you should put on there if you're inclined to do so.
Yeah.
Um,
And unfortunately, I can't find Sergio's report. Trello's not working in it. You sent that out to us in an email, right, Sergio?
So, yeah.
There's a bunch of,
Email too.
oh, here's the attached.
And if you go that route, Chuck, then if you just accept their recommendation and deny the use variance, there's nothing else, right? It's over. If you decide that you're gonna if you're gonna reject the recommendation and grant a use variance or grant it with conditions, then I will need to prepare findings, for you to review, at your following meeting in October and approve. I will tell you the statutory criteria are laid out in the findings that the BZA, and it's, will the use variance be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community, neighboring property affected in a substantially adverse manner, those types of things that by granting the use variance, you're necessarily saying, no, I'm finding that there's not gonna be a substantial impact on neighbors. And I'm finding that, you know, that this is a condition peculiar to the property and we should grant the use variance. So
There is no residential across the street. Or behind.
there
or
is
on either
not.
side.
So I would tell you that if Chuck, if you're inclined to make a motion to grant, to reject the recommendation of the Board of Zoning Appeals and grant the use variance with conditions, that then you need to list
The condition.
the conditions that you want to see in the document, and those conditions should come from the minutes, Sergio staff report to the BZA and the findings. I think there are in the findings, like in the findings that, I mean, and Nicole prepares those off of what goes on in the meeting. Petitioner will see deliveries to the property via UPS, FedEx, box trucks, and limited semi-trailer deliveries, 1 to 2. Some days no delivery, some days 1 to 2. So with that finding, you could limit to no more than 4, right? Like whatever, I'm just throwing a number out there. 30 to 40 personal vehicles of employees will be parked on the property during the business hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Well,
Right.
and I like what Sergio said, yeah, no outside, overnight parking, all restricted to the back of the property.
It, you know,
To me, that makes sense.
it's, you know, Sergio's, I'm gonna defer to him. He's the land planning professional, right, in the room? And he's also the only land planning professional in a hearing before the Board of Zoning Appeals. I would like to think that you give his recommendation some depth.
Yeah. I
Hey, Chuck, I want to weigh in here. You know, one of the things that's interesting about this company is they're a controller manufacturer, which is a little bit nuanced. They speak to doing HVAC controllers. And I've actually toured companies that do this in the area. It's basically a shop where you've got guys quietly manufacturing what look to be computer panels. And there's not a lot of noise, there's not a smell. There might be trucks coming and going, but I would think if we're ever going to want to encourage manufacturing in Munster, this is exactly the kind of manufacturing that we would want to encourage. It's high tech in the sense that it's this electronic stuff. It's something that I think there's always going to be a demand. And there's other businesses that do this in neighboring communities. I've spoken with at least one business owner who's expressed to me a desire to move to Munster. So this is a bit of a challenge here in that I don't understand. Maybe Sergio can weigh in why this is considered to be injurious to the community when it seems to be a low-tech form of manufacturing that could expand the attractiveness of Munster for these types of businesses. Sergio, can you offer some thoughts on this? What's underpinning that determination by the BZA that this would be injurious to the town?
So, Councilman, typically when someone asks me how would the BZA or Plan Commission vote on something or perceive something, I tell them that if I had the ability to read people's minds, the person would be my wife. So honestly, I cannot tell you what the thought process was behind the Board of Zoning Appeals in their recommendation. I did indicate in the staff report that based on the conditions outlined by the state for review, that staff did not find there would be there would not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community. I also found that this type of use in their presentation and the evidence that they submitted to the Board of Zoning Appeals felt that it would not have a negative impact to the surrounding area. So, and therefore, that's why I proposed some additional conditions for consideration to help, at least with the adjacent land uses, maintain their current, perception of what's existing there currently.
Do we have to act on this at this coming meeting?
If you have a time clock, I think it's 90 days. I defer to the attorney on that, but I think an action needs to occur within 90 days of.
It's either 60 or 90
Yeah,
from
we're sure 60 or 90.
certification. But it does have to be on your agenda at the first time after certification, which would be this meeting. But in answer to your question, could you punt it for 2 weeks? You're well within either the 60 or 90-day window that you have to rule. If the clock gets run out, then ostensibly the Board of Zoning Appeals decision stands. So that's the risk of like running out of time, but this was just certified, Sergio, when?
I believe it was the 10th, or we signed on the 10th, it was motion, or, I'll double check.
September 10th. So you're still at 30 days. You'd be within 60, which is, because I don't remember specifically 60 or 90. If you put it over to the 20th of October, you'd still be well within, it's got to be on your agenda. And then someone should move to continue it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this out.
Meeting.
I'll throw this out to see if we have any interest. Chuck, you've expressed some thinking that, and I've gone there. I know the guys over at Cobblestone. Chuck, if you're up for it, you and me or whoever, maybe we go in and we talk to these guys in Cobblestone. Cause I missed, when I reviewed this last night, I missed that minutes. I didn't understand the hidden document trick. I see it now, but maybe it's worth going in and talking to the Cobblestone people and seeing what they're, getting firsthand what their thoughts are. Chuck, would you be up for doing that?
I would be up for,
I would advise you not to do that because now you're taking additional information from the remonstrant. So if you decide ultimately not to grant the variance, you're handing the petitioner fodder for a lawsuit. You gotta just review the record.
a little bit, what I would almost recommend is, I don't have a problem tabling this. I guess I want to look at what Sergio's recommending. And again, I think landscaping could also be, it talks about going into, manufacturing zone landscaping and screener buffers. I just think this makes sense to do.
Yeah,
If you want-
Chuck, I agree with you. I'd like to table this for a meeting
We have
so
an
that I
executive meeting
can
on this?
get into the record a little bit better, please.
No, you gotta get into you can't have this is not one of the items you can have an executive session over, but there's nothing prohibiting you from digging. I mean, it's all here for you. I'm telling you, I looked at it again before this meeting because I knew this issue
Well,
was
I
coming
know
up.
what the issue
There is all the information that if you desire to go in either direction, it's all here, right? The conditions, Sergio's done a very nice job in his staff report of laying that out.
Yeah.
If you want, if that's the direction you want to go, between that and the findings, I think it gives you the roadmap for going in that direction.
Who's the president of POA at Cobblestone?
Barry Abbott.
He's of the Sutton. He's the condos, there's.
Oh, yeah,
and then
Wendy, I stand corrected, yes.
He's one of two.
So there's an issue there that I would prefer we don't
Okay.
talk about right now until we have it ferreted out.
Can I offer, you said this findings of fact.
Yeah,
And again, I've read this thing and again, the findings of facts in this is much more detailed and certainly explains what the petitioner was asking for.
that's right. And it says what evidence he put
Okay,
in.
but hang on, wait a minute. Dave, you just said something that caught my attention. There's something, you represent the council. And if you've got advice for the council, then we need to figure out a way to get it from you. I'm uncomfortable with what you just said, that you don't want to share an opinion with us. I
I
mean,
didn't say that.
well, I perceive that that's what you said, and
Well, you
again,
perceived wrong. I never said that.
okay, you said something about there's some information that you don't want to share.
That's not true. I said there's an issue we don't want to go into right now.
Okay, and, all right, that's something that makes me uncomfortable, that we've got an issue related to tangential to this. I'm lacking information here that I think I need for a decision.
I don't have a problem with tabling this, but can we ask in the meantime, we're tabling this. Can I ask then Sergio to put together what our finding of facts would be? I don't quite understand the finding of facts, because I think this could be used in our favor. The saying that here's what the,
Sergio could certainly synthesize what his recommendations were for conditions. You know, he could extrapolate those out of his report and give you like a bullet list of here's what I would recommend.
okay,
Like that's in the report.
okay,
Isn't it all in the documents that we
It's all right
already
here.
have?
It's all
I
just
mean, it's
extracted
just
for
that
your.
yeah.
waiting to put in.
Because again, I just want to see what we're approving before we go to the meeting. To say, you know, we're approving this, and again, that's kind of where. Like I said, I don't want to be changing anything on Monday night. I want to be going into Monday night with, here's what we've discussed at agenda review. Here's what we're doing legally, and now we know exactly what this is.
Do we want to table this till the October 20th meeting and we'll talk about this next agenda?
But we have, it's gonna be on the agenda and we have to table it, and I want to know what I need to, why I'm tabling it. For further review, is that appropriate to say?
You don't have to say why.
Okay, we just motion to table it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We good?
and again, as long as the council, again, as long as I'm not putting the council in a bad, you know, in a bad position. I think this is something that is very valuable, that we look at it and review a little bit more and make sure we're comfortable with what decision we make.
Okay, are we good at that?
Just want to ask, are we having the council meeting on the 20th?
Yeah,
You're going to AIM.
we're going to aim the next day.
I understand.
Yes.
Just ask.
Because Joe and I wanted to leave Monday and we're not allowed to.
Is that okay? Again, I'm, it's gonna be on the agenda, I understand that, I'm gonna table it, and
Okay.
as long as you guys kind of know where I'm going when I'm tabling it, that's where I'm leaning towards. If anybody wants to just cancel, you know, make the recommendation right now to,
Yeah,
I don't
let's
want-
just do that.
okay,
And you want to discuss it at the next agenda review?
Yes.
right, I would like to have maybe Sergio, maybe, and maybe I can go through this a little bit more. Maybe I was too specific in my email that said, you know, time frame of. Again, can we have the deliveries? Can we have deliveries being from 7 AM to no later than 2 PM in the day for deliveries? As a
You can put reasonable conditions.
you know, and again, can we add, you know, you put in manufacturing standards. They have more parking than what they need for what they do, so I think adding more parking, you know, landscaping in their parking lot makes sense. And would that take away some of their parking, and the landscaping would work there?
The manufacturing standards for buffer and landscaping are more robust.
Okay,
Because they protect or offer shielding from incompatible or potentially incompatible uses. And so that's why that was recommended, but yeah, we can write into that as part of the conditions.
perfect. And again, if that's what you said and that's what we're getting towards, I think it makes sense to do that. And if we put those restrictions on here, that's protecting the future development of that area. And really, the future development of that area is not gonna be houses. It's not gonna be residential. It's gonna be, well, right now, medical.
Medical, it's like commercial.
So this I don't think is affecting future uses of that area either, or correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, you know, is this gonna affect future uses of medical building. I don't think so.
I mean, it's not like Munster Steel was.
I will send, I was out there 3 weeks ago, took pictures of their parking lot. I'll send those to the council. Again, there was 11 cars parked there, 11 trucks.
Okay, we're gonna be talking about this. It's gonna be tabled. Bring it up next agenda meeting. Yeah, let's move forward. Next, SEH road improvement.
This is for CCMG 2026. There will be one call. This memo is for the engineering services for SEH to provide, engineering and construction services for them, that project. So they're gonna start the design and then they'll also do the construction inspection while the project's going on. Task 1 was $128,450. Task 2 is $89,000. Total of $217,450.
Any questions? Okay, next is PD NIPSCO.
So normally this wouldn't even come to the council. It's within the budgetary constraints that we operate under, but basically at 1045th, we had to put a new pole up and have the fiber run to it for LPR, our license plate recognition cameras. That's been one of our long-term goals, is to have something right on the border with Lansing on 45th. Unfortunately, we didn't realize that there's also an agreement that has to be signed by the town manager. So that's why it's got to come before you.
Any questions? Annual squad car purchase.
So this is normal rotation of the remaining pool cars. These cars run 24/7. They're up there in mileage. And instead of our plan, long-term, instead of coming back years from now and asking for major purchases of a bunch of squad cars, we'll be able to do a few a year as opposed to just getting a big financial impact like this.
Any questions? Street sweeper.
So, correction, it is not a street sweeper. It is actually a camera transit van for our sewer and water department. It's to camera sanitary and storm lines so we can see what CIP projects we need for the future. Currently, we use an aluminum box that we put in the back of a pickup truck, and the guys stand out in the elements, rain, snow, hot, whatever. This is a van that actually, you go inside the van to monitor the camera and everything. It's a really nice piece of equipment. It's very much needed and overdue.
Is there any way we could get this changed on Trail Hill?
Yeah, it'll be changed.
It's either changed or it was changed. Now, to clarify,
This is
is there
also-
a camera van and a street sweeper on the agenda, or was the street sweeper?
The street sweeper can wait. It doesn't need to go on this agenda.
Okay,
Or it can go on this agenda. Either way, the street sweeper, I'm going to be asking for in the near future as well. The bill.
I thought she fixed it as well.
The bill for the street sweeper, it takes several months because it's a new bill.
Okay,
So delivery and payment won't be until the first of, I think, in April.
Okay, so that needs to just.
so we're gonna do street sweeper October 20th and camera van the 6th, correct?
That's how we want to go.
Well, we could do them both if you want. Both of these need appropriations.
Well, the street sweeper needs the bond and the camera truck needs the additional appropriation.
The additional appropriation for 1994 is also, that's the purchase for
It includes
the
the
camera.
camera truck,
That's in the additional appropriation.
Yes.
for the camera truck,
For the camera
yes.
truck.
The street sweeper is in the bond.
And just to clarify, the camera truck, well, delivery will be at the end of the year of this year, so
So which one are you leaving on for October 6th?
hold on, I have both memos done for both.
Yeah, here's the camera van. Here's the purchase of the camera van.
Appropriation.
Well, we're not paying until we get.
We don't pay for the sweeper
For either.
until delivery,
Until they're
so
delivered.
we're gonna make the appropriation.
Yeah, Froyo has both.
But we're gonna.
Sweet sweeper purchase.
I just moved.
Sorry. No, it's, this one next.
Okay,
So another thing, I just wanted to let you know, we're trading in our old camera. They're giving us $35,000 for it. And that's a pretty good chunk of money. And we're trading in another street sweeper to purchase the new sweeper.
any questions?
And they were Sourcewell quotes.
Does every town have a street sweeper?
You're seeing a lot more.
I was surprised. I saw the other day that Dyer
Dyer
had
finally
the first
bought one. Yeah.
street sweeper. I thought every town had a
No.
street sweeper. I was just kind of surprised to see that, but that's a side comment. I'm sorry to say, bring it up.
I think some towns may outsource it,
Okay,
contract out street sweeping
okay,
instead of having their own.
okay.
I know St. John bought theirs 2 years ago. They used to contract it out. And I think it was around $15,000 to have them come and sweep the town once. So
Do we just have one sweeper?
we have 2 sweepers right now. I'm replacing the older sweeper.
So we'll have two.
So we'll have 2 still. And then the goal is to replace the second sweeper, hopefully the following year. So we'll have 2 new sweepers within the next couple.
The residents certainly like to see them out.
Yeah,
Oh, I love seeing them out there.
Well,
I'm sorry to bring up the question.
no, it's, and maybe some of the communities, they don't have curbs, they may not run sweepers,
Sure.
because there's nothing to go up against.
Any other questions? Brings our last up, the banners.
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 Oh, you're kidding. All right.
And
All the
our-
banners?
No one jokes about banners. So there were some questions at the last agenda review that we received some clarification from the chamber and updates. So the chamber would like to do something very similar to what they did this year. However, as part of the fee that they collect, $100 of it will go to one of 4 designated donation locations. So the cost of the banners will be the same as they are this year, $275 per banner, 2 for $500, 3 for $725. And they did do a mock-up, and this is what they're proposing that it looks like. I love that we can bring the props today. So this is the proposed banner.
Love it.
It'll
Love
put on the
Light
existing
poles.
poles that we have. So,
Is that a bigger banner than the
no,
one?
same one, but what they've done is they recognize the last one was very flat here. It left a small business logo, so it was challenging to see who was supporting it. So they deliberately shrunk this part, made it much more, and it's not just for military, it's also for public safety officers.
And the picture itself. is
I
bigger.
love it.
Yeah,
My only concern, and I've heard this from people from the chamber, is they used an outside company outside of Munster to print the banners.
No, Bowman Display did it. They're right
I
there.
heard Bowman
So
did all the artwork,
Out-
but they got
outsourced.
them, they outsourced them in Belleville.
that's something.
That's something else.
Oh,
Yeah,
it is?
that-
Okay.
Yeah, they print all these right here in Munster.
Okay. Then that person is wrong.
They're,
We're confused.
yes. They're 2 different things,
Okay,
so.
I think that banner is much nicer looking than the current ones.
oh, they're beautiful.
And I like the way the name is done here with the white on the blue. It makes it pop instead of the black on the white. I don't know.
And
They changed some of the flag so that it means, so you don't have to have any, there's no flag, we're not being disrespectful for a flag, they were mindful of that. So
Basically, I get one of my dad.
that's what I know about.
And this is gonna come, now I'm looking there, this is coming from the town of Munster
The
Chamber.
chamber and in collaboration with the town of Munster.
And the town of Munster itself is not making any money on this.
We are not.
We are supplying the labor.
We're
to put-
supplying the labor.
Okay,
Thank you, Public Works. We've already purchased all the hardware, so that we should have plenty in case there's any that were damaged. So it is purely the labor. The 4 designated charities are the FOP, the Firefighters Association, the American Legion, and the VFW.
Beautiful.
May I ask the logos there at the top of that building? Is one the chamber and one?
I did, I wrote
Yeah.
up the
Yeah,
opposite.
one the chamber, one the town.
And one's the.
The chamber in the town?
Chamber in the town.
Only because the current banners look like it's all from the town.
It looks all like it's from the chamber, because at the top, it's got that, but this has the chamber and the town. I don't know what order they're in on the top, but.
You're right.
The other
It
one.
says
Chamber, your left is the town.
the town of Munster, and the other one says Munster.
No, it's the Chamber of Commerce. That's
What
their
am I
logo.
missing?
But that's the problem, the logo doesn't
Small
say
print.
Chamber of Commerce.
It does say it there.
Oh.
So it's the Munster Chamber of Commerce. So they used our building, so we win-win on that one.
Well, I'm only gonna make the suggestion.
It's got
that
the Russ
chamber
Snyder
needs to
building
be
on there,
large.
so it rings fine.
That's their logo, though. I mean,
I know, but it looks like it's Munster.
Yeah,
town
that's
of
Chamber
Munster.
small.
yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think that
They
was,
can use the money that they raised at the last banner to buy and get a new logo.
Well, I'm just bringing that up because the current banner looks like it's Munster, and the chamber is real small.
They designed it.
I understand, but I just wanna call that to their attention. That's in my opinion,
You have your chance on Monday night to call to their attention in front of the council.
that's fine. That's
It's all
fine, but
good.
at the agenda review here, it's just, I think they need to be able to toot their horn louder. That's just their feelings. Thank you.
Well, that's it with that redevelopment, just a consent agenda. Bingo. Anybody have anything for discussion before we adjourn? Okay, I adjourn this meeting.
Okay, very good.